Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Doom Patrol, Season 1, Episode 4. This episode is called Cult Patrol. Next episode is called Paw Patrol. I don't know how big a fad that is in America, but it's huge in Canada. It was made by a Canadian company, apparently. Anyway, so yeah, I felt in my bones it was going to happen eventually. They didn't make me wait. So, another dazzling episode where they really did a whole lot with Rita Farr. They actually gave her Elasti-Girl powers. Actually, it's Grant Morrison's. It's funny. Somebody said that. One of the comments said this series doesn't have the balls to go full Grant Morrison. I just kind of let that one go because it's like, I think they said it during the third episode, but even if it was the third episode, it's like, dude, they had 3 episodes out. Could you give them a break? Like, what the frig? I didn't even start judging Teen Titans until much later. So, all that aside, here we get a major freaking character from the Grant Morrison run. And we're using Grant Morrison's run version of Rita Farr's powers rather than size manipulation. She's she's actually Elasti-Girl. So that was actually kind of cool. She did. She pushed Willoughby up against the wall. Now this is a character, mind you, I did not read a whole lot of the Grant Morrison run on Doom Patrol. I'm probably going to have to now. I mean, if all of this is going to be mostly based on Morrison's run, I'm going to have to check this out. Now, Willoughby Kipling, he is, according to one description that I'd seen, on a site that I helped to maintain, he is a character who is basically an angrier, drunker, meaner version of John Constantine, which I think makes perfect sense. Grant Morrison adores, pure adulation for Alan Moore. And if you're going to be infatuated with somebody in comic books, Alan Moore is a goddamn good pick. So I have no animosity towards Mr. Morrison for making a dingier version of John Constantine. I've got 0 issues with that whatsoever. More power to you, brother. More power to you. What do you call it? And yeah, just there's that. So anyway, I think that, you know how I always start off my thing with, hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University. I think I'm changing that. I think I'm going to change it too. My opening thing. You get down here and eat your effing cake, Elliott. Because that was practically the opening line for this episode. I almost fell out my seat. I'm like, damn. I've had some pretty rough birthdays when I was a kid, man, but never something quite that bad. Wow. So, oh, geez, and there was a lot of really good things said in here. One of them is when they went into the portal. I love that, how, I'm going to get into the magic in a hot minute. I love the way that he opened up the portal with the cigarette. We thought it was a cigarette. You think that's a cigarette? You think that's tobacco? He enters, or excuse me, all these guys enter, and then immediately come running out. Close the portal, close the portal. Dude, once again, freaking Robot Man just owning this whole episode. I like that they found several more reasons to put Brendan Fraser actual in the TV series. Him with the mullet and the current dad bod that he's got right now. I'm not saying that he looks good, but he really looks the part. He really looks the part, and he actually looks like a regular human being. For once, before it was always, it's like, dude, you look kind of fake on TV, or on the movies. But now, honestly, we all enjoyed the Mummy series, all 3 of them. Yes, even the 3rd one had Jet Li. Don't you dare argue. But yeah, right now, I don't know why. I guess just I miss seeing him in the movies or something like that. I'm just really happy to see him right now. He actually looks like the stereotypical, what have you, NASCAR dad guy, so that worked. Ooh, seeing his relationship, the way that he sees Crazy Jane, the way that Crazy Jane sees him, the way that they see themselves, the way that they really are. Mind you, when that queen, the mom, kept on talking about perceptions and things like that. Keep in mind, even the whole reality thing is not really it. That's actually just her perception. I remember, here we go. What do you call it? I said that I like the Captain Marvel movie. I remember somebody said, I think a lot of people are saying they like the Captain Marvel movie because they're afraid to get blasted for, being a misogynist. No. Meanwhile, when I went on and I said, I like the Captain Marvel movie, I knew I was going to get blasted by a bunch of people somebody called me a soy boy. Really? Soy boy? How many years did you serve in the infantry, boy? Anyway, I love when people come up and they just think they're going to judge you because they're tough behind their keyboard. Anyway, cash me outside. How about that? And you know why I said that? Because the thing we're going to say that's really silly is I watched this one episode of Dr. Phil. Whatever, man. The things that we will do to impress a girl. We're just going to leave it at that. We're just going to leave it at that. So, I was watching this one episode of Dr. Phil. And what do you call it? Yeah, he made this really good, very philosophical point. He says reality is just our perception. Reality is just every individual's perception. So there are how many people are there in the world? That's how many realities there are then, because everybody sees the world through, and this is just me going into my actual philosophy classes, everybody sees the world through an egocentrical lens. Is it egocentrical illusion or egocentrical, what's it called? There's an egocentrical illusion, an egocentrical conundrum, I think it is. Whatever. Anyway, I'll remember when I'm not thinking about it. Be like, oh, duh. Well, of course, it's... So, and by all means, feel free to look up egocentrical illusion and understand where, what that actually means. It's very interesting. Again, part of philosophy. What have you. Let's just get right into the magic thing right now, because that's the thing that I love the idea of studying magic and things like that. It is a philosophy, whether it's thaumaturgical, thelema, however you want to pronounce it. There's lots of different ways to pronounce it. That's real talk. Lots of people pronounce it different ways. What have you. Hermetic, and the interesting part about the last two I just named is I actually haven't owned any of Aleister Crowley's book in a while. Yeah, what's his name? Ozzy Osbourne got it wrong. It's not Mr. Crowley, it's Mr. Crowley, but whatever. He was a poser anyway. Jimmy Page would have gotten it right. But I just ordered book 4 recently from the UK, go figure. If anybody's into thaumaturgical studies or anything like that, it's just interesting stuff to me. It's just further philosophy. That's all it is. So, I've always been into the idea of the occult and things like that. But I can say that Grant Morrison's take on magic is really brilliant. All right. I know the way that Alan Moore does it. I've read Hellblazer. I'm saying all good stuff. The way that this is being displayed here, I don't know whose version of magic they're showing here. Which one they're depicting. Is it Morrison? Is it Moore? But either way, I really love it. There's the silly stuff, which has to be Morrison, where it's like, this is, the strongest thread that in existence is, what's her name? Janis Joplin's dental floss. I'm thinking that's so freaking weird that of course it would work. Of course it would. They tie magic to songs. Yes, there's a lot of energy in songs. It's the reason why they sing in churches. It's one of the reasons why evangelical churches, you can feel them as you're walking by them. Because, wow, there's a lot of energy there. There's a lot of power there, because just so many spirits being uplifted all in unison, to the same tune, the same tone. Anyway, there's like a lot of resonance to it. All the things that they were saying in here were just brilliant. And to a philosopher, wow. Like, you could just sit down and digest on this for days. For days. I loved this. If Grant Morrison's run is really like this, yeah, it just makes me want to read it that much more. Because, wow. So the idea of, so going back to the idea of the perceptions and the realities and whatnot, when she was saying, this is the reality, what she, of course, actually meant was, this is my perception. So my reality. Some people will see people as strong. Some people see people as weak. Some people see this. And then we're talking about all the same person that we're looking at. You put 10 people in a room. Have you ever heard the one of the, I think it's the 7 wise men in the kingdom, in this story, were brought in to investigate an elephant, but they all had to be blindfolded. They all got to go to one side of it. One person felt the trunk and he's like, oh, this is and then one person felt one of the legs. Oh, this is one person felt the little tail. Oh, this is and they all had a different thing to say about it. And if they took off the blindfold, they'd realize that if they would have investigated the whole thing or just looked at the whole thing, whatever, then they would have realized it's actually an elephant. But trying to judge something based on one little part that we understand, that's, that's where we mess up as human beings. This didn't get too deep into the mystical studies, but hot damn, it could. It could make philosophers out of a whole bunch of people, man. Like, when you just stop and you really think about how much there is to look at this higher thinking sort of mentality, it's beautiful. It's wondrous, and they just got into enough, and they added a whole lot of humor and darkness to it, which just made it great. The idea of these things coming at them, I don't know if they give them a name or not. They're actually unsent letters. Think about how much, because magic is a lot of things, but one of the things that magic actually is the idea of bringing up. There's going to be a bunch of people talking about, oh, Professor Bill's an occultist. No, not. I study everything, and I can quote the Bible, I can quote the Quran, I can quote magical studies. I can quote the Bhagavad Gita or anything in the Upanishads for the most part. I can quote the Lotus Sutra. I like to study lots of different things. I can quote the Granth. So thus saith Nanak. Just pointing it out there, man. Just pointing it out there. But anyway, shoot, where exactly was I again? The emotion. A lot of magic and so-called spellcasting is no different than prayer when you think about it. I know there's going to be a religious nut or 15 who are just showing up as like, how could you compare it? It's actually quite easy to compare, especially when you look at like Catholic Mass and the sacrament. You know what I'm saying? The Eucharist. All right. If you look at sangria, if you look at voodoo, if you look at so many different aspects of. If you just look at the and this is just in Christianity, if you look at certain evangelicals, with the whole handling of the snakes and things like that, there's a lot of mysticism involved in this, and you might not want to call it mysticism, but it's like saying that the Christmas tree belongs to Christians just because it was usurped. It belonged to the pagans. That's what it belonged to. The Bible warns against bringing a tree into your home. So there's that. So it is what it is, man. But like, they really got a hold of this. If you think about the sheer, the raw emotion put into an unsent letter. How many people have sat there and you get a comment, you read a comment on Facebook or Twitter, some social media, and you start furiously typing, and then just before you hit send, you're like, you know what? No, let me stop. And you just saw, and you're just like, you know what? It's not even worth it. It's not even worth it because F this guy. But you put a lot of emotion into there. And you didn't get, and you felt that it's better to not send it. Now, if an unsent letter where it's like, oh, it was lost in translation or was lost in the mail or something like that, you imagine that energy getting to your recipient. The Buddha would say, anger is like picking up, or someone's unchecked fury is like the man who picks up a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at his enemy. he's the only one who gets burned. Likewise, writing any kind of a letter, anything like that, and then just it not reaching, whether you decide to not send it or whatever, there's a lot of energy that you meant to be directed here and it doesn't work. It's kind of like shooting a gun and missing your target. It's going to go somewhere. What does that bullet hit? You know? What could it potentially hit? What are the possibilities? You know, what if you're not in the woods? What if you're in the middle of a crowded street? An innocent bystander winds up getting it. Something like that. Think about magic, almost like, you know, you get angry in traffic and somebody cuts you off. You know, maybe they didn't mean for it. Maybe they totally meant for it. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But the idea is that they turn around. Whatever, you go around and you flip them off. You flip them the bird, and then that energy, that negative energy, stays with them. Because imagine if that happened to you. Imagine if somebody cuts you off and you honk the horn. Hey, what the hell? And they turn around. They flip you the bird. They start doing the whole like that in the rearview mirror. You're going to be like, that's still a lot of anger, a lot of rage that you have to try and quiet. But does it really get quieted? Do we all really quiet it? Do we all have the ability to just meditate it away? No, most people on average don't. So they take that with them, and all of a sudden they go to work in a really bad mood, or they go home in a really bad mood. Think about that. That's exactly what I'm seeing here. These people who are making this TV series, they really get that. Whether they're just copying off of what Morrison is doing and Moore has done, or they understand. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in that writer's room and in the director's chair and whatnot. I really don't know. God, I would love to. I would genuinely love to, because the amount of understanding that this episode shows of magic, plus with all the humor built into it, it's hysterical. It's crazy. It's crazy seeing all of this. I'm looking at the whole thing like, wow, I'm fascinated. And I mean, I see like somebody's writing an Israel Regardie book right in front of me. You know what I'm saying? It's sick. It's crazy. I am enamored by this TV series. Nirnheim. I love that they got a place called Nirnheim. Again, I don't remember reading that in the Morrison books, but in the Morrison Doom Patrol, very few issues have I actually read of Morrison's run. But the whole, Nirnheim sucks. God, how is Robot Man just this great? How they pull it off, dude. Totally pull it off. And at the end, D Creator, we end on a cliffhanger, which I think we've only hung on we only ended on one cliffhanger before, and that was the first episode, So we get that again, another cliffhanger, and that's the reason why this episode seemed to just go so fast for me, which is fine. It just makes me that much more desirous for next Friday to come out. Because usually there's the beginning, the swoop, and up bunch of cool things happening, and then the climax starts happening, and it's like, oh my God, all this crazy things, the fight scene, the hallway scene, whatever, and then the drop off, like, okay, bring yourself back down, let's regulate those emotions, and go forward from there, and then okay, boom, and something funny or something happens. Whatever they want you to walk away with, whatever feeling they want you walking away with, that's what they'll try and present to you. If they want to end, where you're smiling, and they'll do that. If they want you laughing, if they want you crying, if they want you angry, if they want you whatever, they're gonna, try and end with something that'll try and elicit that emotion. That's what you're gonna walk away from the whole episode with, is that emotion. Here, they kind of did that. It's like, end of the world. Oh, but that's okay, because Willoughby just cracked a joke, and he should have played Hard Day's Night. I loved the Beatles reference. I loved all the musical references. Fantastic. This was But again, since we didn't get all of the swells and the swooning and all that stuff, it was just like, holy crap, you're screwed. Here's a joke. See you next Friday. Damn it. It was cool. I dug it. I don't like that they're not showing the preview for what's going to happen on the next week until the morning of. Like, what the hell, dude? Or the day before, whatever it was. I don't remember what it was. But I was very disappointed. Like, I want to know what's going to happen in general next week. What's up with that? Either way, again, fantastic episode. And yeah, Friday, dude. Friday. All right, guys. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.